Okay, so after Some Like It Hot, Billy Wilder wrote and directed. He did this movie, and then after this movie, Billy Wilder did Irma La Duce with Shirley MacLaine and Jack Lemmon. Which came out in '63, and that's kind of takes place in Paris. But in between those two movies, we have what I consider one of the best written movies of all time, and we'll see if kind of Kyle agrees. This is his first time ever seeing this.
What am I gonna think? Is it a yay? Is it a nay?
Yeah.
Let's get our keys out, go to the apartment, and hope nobody's in there doing stuff. Welcome back to the show. I'm one of your hosts, Kyle Goethe from GoatFilmReviews.com.
Hey, I'm Nick from the St. Paul Filmcast. Thanks for finding us. Thanks for watching. And for our loyal fans, thank you for continuing to support the show. Hey, we got a Patreon. Check that out. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram. Today, we're going to talk about one of the few rarities where the Oscars get it right with Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay. And I think some other awards. They got like a bunch of nominations. It's The Apartment.
Yes. All right. Let's talk it, buddy boy. Insurance clerk C.C. Baxter has been lending his apartment out to the higher-ups at his company for the last 4 years in order to secure an eventual promotion. When the personnel director, Mr. Sheldrake, blackmails him into access to the apartment, Baxter finds complications in his professional and romantic life are pushed to their very limits.
So usually when I critique writing and read other people's scripts, I always say, well, number one, show me where it hurts, how you deal with death, and most importantly, are you looking for your authentic self? And I think all those encapsulate what The Apartment is.
What hurts more than anything is probably the washing the sheets every day. I really hope he was doing
You don't have cheesecake or cheese balls.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So for me watching this movie the first time, I have a very unique comparison to make. So stay with me on this.
All right.
This movie felt very similar to the Seinfeld contest episode, where they won't say the word masturbation, and they just call it, like, they just refer to it as master of your domain, king of the castle. The entire movie is about him basically using his apartment as a, like, bring your folks here for intimate times. There's a lot of dirty stuff going on in this movie, but they ride the line of never really referring to it in an inappropriate way. It's shocking. Like, for me, like, realizing this came out in the same year as Psycho, where it was like, a woman in her bra, a flushing toilet, and then for this movie to do the, like, kind of go even further, but do it in a way that's so roundabout.
Circumnavigate.
Yeah, you feel like you're watching something dirtier than you are.
So what Billy Wilder does, I think, is really interesting. I love the writing. I think it's one of the best screen scripts out there. I think it's one of the top 10. I think it's in the Screenwriters Hall of Fame. But what he does is, with the beginning of the narration, he doesn't talk about the apartment. What he talks about is how good of a search agent he is.
I'm
he
really
like spits all these facts out, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes to the monotonous work of doing his work. But I love that he follows the machine as well. So the machine's kicking the input, and he follows like, yep. That he's been doing this for a long time. But then it's through the dialogue that we know what the apartment is for.
Yeah, and I like that it feels almost like a mystery for what it's for the first 20 minutes. And again, part of that comes from the fact that I watching this movie for the first time, it being set in the 60s, you thinking about it like it's not for that,
it
right?
It starts very noir, right? It's very so foreboding, almost like.
Well, and they open up in that great office, and I got to talk about that office shot with like the really long lines behind. You know they actually did that shot?
Matt?
It's incredible. No, they actually had full adult humans at desks, and then like a third of the way down they had children in smaller desks dressed up in work clothes, and then another third of the way down they had cardboard cutout marionettes basically that were like operated by people on wires so that it could look like it was really, really far away all the way down. I mean, it's incredible. I had to watch the scene again just to note that. But we get our introduction in that like producer's unhappy, kind of world as they're all doing their ticket taping.
Yeah.
And we peel back the layers slowly of I give my apartment up, and it's like, what? He's like, but I stay late a couple times in a week and to do this. And then you're like, okay, why are you giving it? Like, as we peel back the layers, and then he gets home and he sees his higher up with a woman, and then you're like, no. And that great time where he leaves and he's like, I don't bring other women up here, I'm happily married. And like we start getting all those elements, then I'm like, wow. Like
right, but through the dialogue you get the story, right? Well, I live in the Bronx. Why do you ladies always live in the Bronx? You bring other women? No, I'm happily married.
Yeah,
but
and getting all those pieces. We get the Sheldrake thing too, where like Sheldrake calls me to the office, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna get the promotion. I'm like, wait, is he gonna get passed over? Like, we're starting to ask those questions of the mystery element of the film, and then we find out Sheldrake's gonna blackmail him and basically say, get rid of those other guys. I want access to the apartment, and it's like, oh, you're scummier than the rest. Okay.
Right, and he used it through dialogue. Like, how did this start? Well, my friend had to change clothes for a convention. I said, well, I'm close by. You can use my apartment. And then that got hold of. And then, the whole, I love the comedic points of, how many drinks have you had? 3.
Yeah.
And then what Shirley MacLaine does it. How many times? How many boyfriends had? 3.
Yep. Well, and the ways in which Billy Wilder uses the screen to tell elements of the story that are not there. So even on I think is it New Year's or Christmas Eve, when he's getting drunk on martinis, you can count the number of martinis he's had because he's got the olive and the stick, and he's making a little flower out of them on the table. And so like when that scene happens, I was able to pause and go, oh my god, he's on 7 already. Like, oh, my head already hurts thinking about it. He uses the screen to give us details that contribute to the story. Where if you miss them, it's not big.
No,
but they're there and they make you kind of like. Just invest yourself more in what's happening on screen.
But it uses definitely an imbalance because there's a void in Baxter's life, but then there's a void in Miss Kubelik's life too.
Yep.
But they're just part of the working necessity. And that's how they meet. But also they try to balance each other out. Right? Grayson's episode are about balance each other out. She's like, he talks about, well, I get, people get sick at average 2.5. I never get sick. Well, I always get sick. So it's almost like they balance each other out. He's more of a out there. She's a little more reserved. So you almost think like, would it work? I don't know if you only think about maybe are they really really care about each other?
Well, I find it interesting. The only time that they're ever on the same level where they do have the similarity is when he comes home from the party. She's passed out sleeping pills, and he's almost passed out from alcohol. They're both finally in the same place at the same time in like the same predicament. Of course, she's in a much worse place because she could die in that scene, whereas he's just like really train wrecked. So we finally see them get to a level where they're both in the same place, and that's where the connection happens. Because really, they only share 30 seconds in the morning, 30 seconds at night.
At the elevator.
Yeah.
It was crowded, and then she's got to deal with people touching her butt all the time. Right?
Yep. Yeah, Jamie, my wife was watching this with me, and she just kept pointing out, she was like, so was just everyone cheating on their wives in the 60s? And I'm like...
Have you not watched Mad Men?
Well, I was like, it's a building of 30,000 people. If only 4 of them are cheating on their wives, it's a pretty shocking situation, I guess. But
So, Billy Wilder used to write, I think his name is I.A.L. Diamond.
I.A.L. Diamond.
They did a lot of scripts together. He's almost like a script doctor for Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder has an idea, and then him and they flush it out, kind of a thing. I like the idea of the music is very sad. Billy Wilder was upset that people treated it as a rom-com. He thought it was a very depressing movie.
I thought it was going to be a rom-com. So like that tells you how it's still sold. I was convinced it was going to be a rom-com, and it's got some comedic elements to it. It's got romance to it, but it's almost a rom-com drama. Where it's got the dramedy to it as well.
Yes, but then the little increments of like props. I'm talking about like the martini glasses. The keys, which is an interesting little play about the keys and how it gets developed more. You the wrong key, and then but then like the martini glasses and then the cheese balls and all that stuff. But then it's all little pieces that you find flows together. And he talked about it. He has a gun and he tried to commit suicide, which leads into a joke when she runs back and she hears a pop.
Yeah,
but it's great dialogue. How's your leg? Well, I feel great all over.
Yeah,
that's a totally Billy Wilder line right there.
It's such a clever bit of storytelling because pieces come up that lead to like setups lead to payoffs, but then there's also elements too that are just there to kind of serve the characters. Whenever you feel like you need a character boost, we get a little bit of a character boost that doesn't serve the story as much, but it kind of it broadens us, it brings us closer to someone. And C.C. Baxter is such a tragic character because he spent the best young years of his life giving up his home, and I found it for 4 years he's been doing this for a promotion. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever done anything for 4 years for a promotion.
And then the other guy, I've been here for 20.
Yeah.
It's kind of foreboding.
But I think that's a good statement about how it's like to try and get ahead in the world, is that you have to literally give your apartment up for sex. in order to get ahead in the world.
I think it's sit in the park in the rain. This is wonderfully a lot of great supporting actors and cast, including his neighbor, the doctor, and the doctor's wife. Yeah,
Jack Crucian, who actually was he actually did get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I should point out the film did get a win for Best Picture, a win for Best Director, a win for Original Screenplay, for Art Direction, for Film Editing. It was nominated for Jack Lemmon. It was nominated for Shirley MacLaine, and cinematography and sound. Yeah, so there was a lot of awards. This was a juggernaut that year, and it was the last black and white Best Picture until The Artist in 2011.
Oh, it was.
So yeah, so for decades this was the last one sitting there.
I think because people like, if you want to do something like that, it's going to be in color anymore. But I think Billy was trying to harken back to the old days, maybe shoot a little bit noir. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
he did double indemnity with.
If you're good at something like lighting a scene, and again, best cinematography for a black and white movie was still kind of something that people would discuss. Like, well, does it deserve it if it's black and white? That came up a lot in discussion. Does it deserve it if you could make a color movie and have something? And it's like, if you can do black and white better than you can do color, do black and white, and that's something he was good at.
Every time I watch this movie, I get frustrated that Jack Lemmon's not going to make spaghetti for me. I want him to make spaghetti for me with his tennis racket.
I thought about going out to my garage and getting it, but I didn't think I could get that going enough.
But I always say Jack Lemmon, I love Jack. Anything he's in, I'll watch. But one of the key things I like about Jack Lemmon, when Jack Lemmon's frustrated, it is so wonderful. Mm-hmm. And he plays frustrated so many times, but it's so marvelous in this. He just gets
well, and he doesn't play frustrated the exact same way in every movie. Like, as he got older, we can look at the parallel between this and even Grumpy Old Men, where like his anger and frustration in that film is a very different level.
Oh yeah.
Where it's kind of like he's coming at it. He's a very likable person as Baxter in this film, even though he's so tragic, and you just want him to get the courage to just throw it back in their faces the whole movie. In Grumpy Old Men, it's like he's like Baxter if Baxter never actually turned as a character, and he just kept letting people take advantage of him because he's just mad about the world. So he's got this element to him where he's incredibly likable in that you want him to just get mad and do something about it.
He's a people pleaser.
Yeah,
but he's trying that line. He's trying to think of how I can get ahead, and I'll be just walk all over me, and then we can do that.
Yeah, I'll just let him do it one more time. Next time I'll tell him. He just never comes to that next time.
But he gets his searching for his authentic self, but you realize this is not who I want to be. Even though he's really good at being insurance, and he knows all the numbers and figures, he's like, I'm going to leave. And which Shirley MacLaine's like, where are you going? I don't, whatever, yeah. Which is fascinating because you think he cemented his world. It's almost like Ed Norton in Fight Club. I figured this out. I got my apartment, I got my job, I got my everything, and just got to sort it all out. And I just get up in the world, and I'm fine.
Yeah,
which is not what.
That's the thing, is you keep telling yourself, once I get this promotion, things will be easy and clear for me. And he finds that even as he moves forward in his career, things are not getting any less complicated. He's maybe making more money, but he has no free time to use it because he's giving his apartment away, and he has nowhere to go. So he's gaining all these things that he thinks are going to make his life better, and they're not. And I think a lot of us, as viewers and discussing people, we always tell ourselves things are going to get better when this happens. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And it's an incredibly relatable character problem to have. And we've also all had bosses that screw us in the end, even if they're screwing someone else.
Well, we're so used to Fred McMurray being the nice guy, well, other than Double Indemnity, but he's such a nice, apologetic guy. He's really not that menacing, but he is psychopathic.
He knows how to not say it, but mean it. And I've always been more aware of the My Three Sons Fred McMurray. Like, that's my Fred
right,
McMurray.
Yes.
Watching my dad would love that.
You trust
show,
him. All right, Dad. Yeah.
So when I saw him in Double Indemnity, I was like, oh, he's such an angry person. But this is at least decades prior to My Three Sons, whereas this film is a little bit closer to that time period.
Come on, Fred.
And it still hasn't really progressed.
Come on, friend, you're just a one-night stand. No, really?
Yeah. And just being able to look at that relationship. Right? Well, he's gaslighting her, but then that relationship keeps coming back to the fact that she keeps thinking, oh, once he changes and leaves his wife, it'll get better. Just even though she knows he's not going to. They both have that element of like, well, once this happens, life will be better. And it just doesn't ever happen for that. Right. You have to be the one. You have to be the architect of your own future.
That's the whole point of the story, right? Look for your authentic self and find your own pathway. Even if sometimes it's not going to be the greatest pathway or something like that, but find your own way. And I think they find it with each other. We're at the point where we can talk a little bit about the ending. it's a little bit open-ended. I know you like full kind of closure endings, but do you like this ending?
Yeah, I do, because it's not open. I mean, it's open-ended, but it's not. The story has closed. The story is closed in that they have both progressed to the point where they are able to decide I can make my life better. I don't need to give up to make my life better. I feel like the film has a conclusion. You can argue whether or not they stay together, but you can argue that in any rom-com. There are plenty of movies, there are plenty of character pieces and romance. But you can argue that in any relationship movie, you can argue that the characters might not stay together after the film. And there's a lot of movies where the relationship works out at the end of the movie, and then if the sequel opens up and one of them doesn't come back, it's like, oh yeah, they dumped me 15 minutes later, and it's like, well, Karate Kid Part 2. They couldn't get Elizabeth Shue back, so it's like, oh yeah, remember that relationship? It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So I think the film feels like a natural conclusion, even if it's not all the little pieces.
It's because when they first played Jin together, she's not really into it. Mm-hmm. But then at the end, she's like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. Which is almost a metaphor, maybe like, let's try this out. Yep.
It's just like the metaphor of my life. I'm always asking my wife, you want to play a board game? You want to do something? And so when she finally feels bad, she's like, let's play a board game. Let's do that. So I get it. Jin is a perfect way to meet people.
I still don't know how to play Jin. I don't either. I don't know how you do it. And then you got to keep score and everything. Yeah. But until his little stove is hilarious. And he's got a little fridge too. I love that little stove.
I know. It feels like he's got the first Airbnb, It's just maybe consistently used for less than reputable things with people he knows.
When it came out, TV and movies definitely were a battle. We talked about that in Network, they're frictionized. And you still, when movies came out, showed you the kind of, not really the depressing, but almost like the void of watching television. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point of him going to watch television. I'm just going to sit there and there's nobody else around. It's almost like a mindless activity. Movies like to project that
I need to fill the void.
Fill the void. But this is going to show a great movie, Grand Hotel, but he gets so frustrated because the ads keep interrupting and he tries to find something else to the point he just, the heck with it, I'll just go read in bed. Which is another stab that we show throughout history of movies stabbing at television. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even though they're going to show a movie.
We all know that person who can't, when the game goes to commercial break, they fiddle around and they watch 5 seconds of another movie and then they come back to it. Side note, I really want that selector box that he has on the right side.
Did you know that?
I used to have a JCPenney TV and I tried to find one of those selector boxes for the channel and I could not find it. If you find one, let me know. I like the idea that's he's filling the void. We get so much of his character in the first 10 minutes of the film. I would argue that my biggest problem with the movie is I feel like it's about 20 minutes too long. It feels like that opening hour before we get to the part where he's taking care of her. Before that, we get all the pieces in play early on in the film, and then there's a good section from 40 minutes into about an hour where we could do some heavy trimming and just kind of get to our character interaction. And that's why I think that the opening of the film is so strong, because we get all that stuff in the first 20 minutes. We know where this movie is and what's going to happen as we're moving. So,
yeah, I don't know when the doctor's slapping her to wake up.
Again, there's some weird things in the movie because time has made it a little stranger. But yeah, elements of the doctor slapping. I mean, again, my wife being a pharmacist, she knows that may not be the most correct way to do it. So I'm sure she's probably had a situation or so. But it's things about it that have aged weirdly, not poorly but weirdly, where they just kind of come back.
Well, you don't have somebody riding that works the elevator.
Yeah.
Because that's insurance policy that you have somebody else push the buttons. You don't want the other people to mess with it.
Yep. Which, if that job still existed, I would do it. I would just tell the same joke every single day. How's your life? That's ups and downs. But I think it's a nice little movie. I do consider it to be romantic, comedic, and dramatic. I would say a rom-com drama, because I do think that it has romantic comedy elements to it, but there is hard drama at the film that never reaches is as important as the romantic part and the comedic part.
Right, and it's all greatly written dialogue. You get all of it through the dialogue.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Fran and him are at the bar and they're having the same conversation again, they don't make them like they used to. Here's your drink that you always have. Mm-hmm. You cut your hair, which now we realize why she cut her hair.
Yep.
Is she had enough of him because he really likes her hair, which of course the girl's going to do when you break up with her.
Well, and notate Jack Lemmon. C.C. Baxter comes in and then he says, "I really like your hair that way," and it's that simple element of he likes her no matter how she is, no matter who she chooses to be, he will like her.
I
and that is
adore
that
you.
part,
Shut up and deal.
Yeah.
I love that. I absolutely adore it. Just shut up and do it.
But going back to the final thing about the script, yeah, I think a lot of filmmakers today who are writers and directors could really use an I.A.L. diamond. And I've consistently gone back to this. George Lucas needs someone to write or fix his ideas when he was writing movies.
Yeah.
Because he's got great ideas.
Well, we talked about
but
it,
sometimes you
lazy.
need someone to work them into a script the right way. Zack Snyder has written a number of films. I prefer the Zack Snyder films that he didn't write because I think that he has great ideas, but he needs someone to just kind of finesse them into a screenplay.
Yeah, Spielberg needs an editor.
Yeah, I think we all need to. We all get to a place where we stop relying on the people that fix us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we all stop as creatives.
Well, you
we
need
stop
somebody to
taking our
answer to.
material.
We talked about that
Yeah.
writer workshop. You need somebody to, and that's why we have workshops. You need somebody to answer to fix things. And so, yeah, because a lazy person would write in the narration what the problem is at the apartment. Instead, you get this factual how good of a person he is at his job.
Yep.
And why he deserves the promotion.
Yeah, so the film dances around being exactly what it's about. You know, but it never full on says like this is what this movie is about. We just dance around it enough so that you can make it for yourself.
All right, buddy boy, have you seen The Apartment?
I know I have. I just saw it. So let us know in the comments down below. What's your favorite Billy Wilder film? Which one should we cover next? I know this is only my second one. I saw Indemnity back in college and then this one. So
I still get
I've
a
got
kick
some
that he
open
hired
space.
somebody to act like Marilyn Monroe, and he did 7-Year Itch with her.
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Wilder did 7-Year Itch with Marilyn Monroe.
Well, and
Yeah.
Some Like It High. He maneuvered around that pretty well. So
He should have got really Marilyn Monroe to do that. That would have been hilarious.
well, when the wife was watching it, she only see her from the backside from the beginning, and she was like, "Wait, is that actually her?" Like she kind of like, "Was it?" And I was like, "No, let me pause it because we were watching on Amazon. We can point out the actors." But yeah, let us know your thoughts. What should we cover next in the Wilderverse?
There's
as
a
we
lot.
go through it. There's plenty of movies. He's done plenty of work, and he's one that again I just haven't scratched the surface as much as I should. Or
I would say he's very much a journeyman directing, but writing, I think it's somebody that Aaron Sorkin is upset about. He really wishes he could be Aaron Billy Wilder.
That's the nice thing though, is he came before Aaron Sorkin, so he doesn't have to be upset about him. He can just look back and be like, I was inspired.
Billy is a fantastic writer, and then he's asked somebody to
Finesse his ideas, fix things in place. I think
Yep.
we all need people like that in our lives. Hopefully we're that way for you when you check out episodes of our show. But you can also check out that Patreon like Nick
Yes,
pointed
please
out.
do.
Sacrifice that cup of coffee every month. Join the Patreon. Help out fellow independent content creators like ourselves and help us pick some of the different movies we're going to talk about in future episodes.
Yeah.
You can find all my film reviews over at gofilmreviews.com.
You can find my show, the St. Paul Filmcast, anywhere you find podcasts.
All right. So hold on to your keys, folks. Just, you know, you don't need to do that.
Right.